For many Australians, Indonesia is mostly associated with Bali or cheap flights. But thousands of Indonesians live, study and work here in Australia.
In this video, we're actually going to see how close we are to connecting with their culture. We're in Darling Harbour in Sydney, Australia, and joining me on this little adventure,
Anton. Hello. I'm from Brisbane. I make things beautiful so that people will sign up to missions. There's a term for me, it's CIA, Chinese, Indonesian, Australian. Nama saya Anton. Saya lahir di Semarang dan pindah ke Australia setelah SMA. Hi, my name is Anton. I was born in Indonesia, in a small city called Semarang, and I grew up in Jakarta. I moved to Sydney when I was 18, and now I live in Brisbane.
Hi, my name is Kian, and I am doing an outreach and also training Indonesian diaspora, Indonesians who live abroad, and especially training those who are returning back to their home countries, to Indonesia.
One of the easiest ways to understand a culture is through food. So today, we're following Indonesians living in Australia through the places that feel most like home.
We're gonna go to the Indonesian grocery shop. We'll see some Indonesian shopping. This is where they usually shop in Sydney. Soybean fermented pig. We usually use it for a lot of different things, like to deep fry. Everything is deep fried in Indonesia. Oh, what? Okay. This is the official drink of Indonesia. Basically sweetened tea, but it's probably more sweet rather than tea. This is actually one of the best. This is called pempek, which is the fish cake, deep fried fish cake. Over there, we're gonna have martabak as one of the famous dessert in Indonesia. It's very sweet.
Looking forward to it.
But beyond the food and language, there's also a deeper story, how Indonesians in Australia are building community, faith and connection far from home.
I came to Australia about 20 years ago. I was born in Bogor, which is about 50 kilometers south of Jakarta. I grew up as a non-Christian. I was born in a non-Christian family, but the Lord brought me to a church. So my aunt actually was the one who brought me to church, who invited me to come to church. And during my youth years, I came to know Christ as my personal savior. I got involved with Indonesian Christian Fellowship, student fellowship. And finally, I decided to become a full-time gospel worker. Because I still can read this. So it's been really exciting. In the last 20 years, I did it with AFES in the first 15 years. And since then, after I finished with AFES, I have moved now to an organization. And I keep on doing that, but it's much wider than just reaching out and training students, but also training those who are working and those who are thinking of returning to Indonesia, whether short-term or long-term.
So we're here about to try some Indonesian food. I've got some nasi padang here. We've got some rice. We've got some beef.
That's balado, dendeng balado,
Jackfruit and
cassava leaves. There are a lot of Indonesians living in Australia. The Bureau of Statistics says that almost close to 100,000 Indonesians actually residing in Australia. So it's really not too difficult actually to meet Indonesians and to get connected and to get to know their faith.
Coming from Jakarta, it's just a big shock to see Sydney. I think second thing, probably language. Big, most Indonesians will learn English through maybe American movies, like American TV series, but Australian English really, really different. Yeah, it's not really easy. I think there's a religious freedom, but in terms of like sharing the gospel of Jesus, it's not really you gotta build a long friendship before you can even have a good gospel conversation. You know, Indonesian students who come to Australia, you know, they probably haven't been exposed to the gospel in their country. Maybe they have, I'm not sure, but I think when they come here, really the opportunity to connect with them, to be friends with them, so that, you know, we can share the gospel. And in many ways, it's just really build relationship with them in this country where more religious freedom, I guess, compared to when you're back in Indonesia. You can take them maybe to Indonesians area, maybe their first time in Sydney. You know, most of students, they're probably like homesick, maybe missing their mom's food. So I think one of the ways to welcome them, you know, take them to maybe Indonesian restaurants, you know, get them to connect with any other Indonesian group, I guess, you know. That's one of the ways, I guess. Yeah.
I've seen people coming to Christ, which is really exciting. And not only that, but also people returning to Indonesia and bringing the gospel back to change the country, to change their families, and also to change the church, to renew the church. So that's really exciting. Happy birthday to you. So I've been training students, especially postgraduate students who are studying in Australia, and some of them have returned to Indonesia, and particularly one of them has returned to a big university in Bandung in West Java, and we are very excited for him to share the gospel of Christ in that university. And this is martabak, but we're gonna try the real martabak. The dynamic of people who are staying here, usually they only stay and get trained for 3 to 4 years, and after that they return to Indonesia. So we have a high turnover, but on the other hand, it really reminds me that I don't have to keep them forever, because they are the Lord's and they are actually going for a purpose, not for me, but also for the Lord. It's really easy to connect, something that is deeper. So I really encourage people actually to go to Indonesian restaurants, go to the Indonesian communities and meet Indonesians and be friends with them and talk about faith, what you believe and what they believe. To join our ministry, whether in Sydney or beyond, in different major cities like Brisbane, Melbourne, Perth, because again, those cities are the ones that Indonesians usually go to for study and for work. However, it's really exciting that in the last few years we have seen Indonesians actually going to the regionals as well, in which they are working in fruit plantation, in factories, and many of them are definitely lonely because they don't really have friends. They just work Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday sometimes. But it's really great if we can have Christians actually who are connecting with Indonesians who are in the regional.
The distance between Australia and Indonesia was never really geography. Sometimes it's simply familiarity. Maybe it's time we took the first step.